Here are 7 airplane buying mistakes to avoid so that you can save money, time, and stress. Number 7 is to start looking for a hangar now. You might be surprised to find out that the waiting list at the airports near you could be years long. At the very least, I would suggest taking an hour and calling or emailing all the airports within a reasonable distance of you and try to get some lines in the water, so to speak, to see what your options might be. The other thing I do is also reach out to the FBOs at each of these airports and ask if they have any long-term lease options. Some FBOs will keep you as a client if they have room. Now, it'll probably be more expensive than a traditional hangar, but if it's your only option, at least you've got one. Then if you still can't find anything, networking in your local EAA chapter might help you hear about any upcoming vacancies or people looking for hangar mates, that sort of thing. Number 6 is that many people won't think about insurance early enough. Guy I used to work with, I used to always call it insurance. He's like, man, you Texans is insurance. So that's insurance. Insurance. It's insurance. Anyways, people don't look into insurance early enough, not only to understand what it's going to cost, but also to see if they can get covered in the first place. Depending on your age or your experience, you might find that getting insured in your airplane could end up being really expensive, or maybe it's not that expensive, but there might be some additional things that the insurer wants you to do. Some additional experience, certain number of hours, getting trained in the airplane, that sort of thing, before they're going to give you the green light to fly it and be insured flying solo. And so that's a good thing to know ahead of time before you get too far down this road of buying the airplane. And some other things that might impact the price of the policy are things like how much the airplane is actually worth. That's an obvious one. But also things like retractable gear. Retractable gear airplanes are more expensive to insure. The number of seats on board also drives the insurance premium. So these are things to keep in mind and try to get ahead of. Because you also want to have insurance lined up so that way once you have the airplane picked out and you're ready to buy it, you can bind insurance quickly as soon as it closes. Basically, you don't want your first call to the insurance agent to be when you're 24 hours away from closing on the airplane purchase. If you're looking for some help on this, the agent that I use is actually based at my home airport here in Addison, Texas. His name is Ladd Gardner. He runs Ladd Gardner Insurance Agency. He's a really good guy. He's extremely knowledgeable. And I actually did an interview with him a while back about all things airplane insurance. And it's a featured video in my course, The Airplane Buying System, which walks you step by step through everything you're going to need to know to buy your first airplane. Now, I'll put a link to that course as well as Ladd's website down in the description if you want to reach out to them, get some feedback on your situation and the type of airplane you're wanting to buy. And it's worth noting that I have no other connection to him other than the fact that this is the guy I use. I'm not getting a kickback for mentioning his name. He's just been really helpful to me, and so I want to mention him here in case it helps you. Mistake number 5 is that a lot of people only think about the purchase price. They'll say, I can spend $100 grand on an airplane or whatever the number is, but they're not thinking ahead too much on the ongoing ownership costs. Unfortunately, airplanes are expensive. You're gonna have ongoing fees like any payment that you have on the airplane, the hangar costs, the maintenance costs, the fuel costs, etc. But then there's even some sneaky things that I didn't really think of ahead of time, like your GPS subscription. If you're gonna have a GPS in your airplane, there is a subscription to that data, and it's like $400 or $500 a year, depending on the exact product. It could be plus or minus a little bit of that. But yeah, that purple line, the direct enter line, does actually cost you something on an ongoing basis. So it's good to plan ahead. And I will put a link down in the description to a financial model you can use to plan out how much an airplane will actually cost you to not only own it, but operate it too. So the link there, it comes with what I call the airplane buying roadmap that has all the steps involved in buying an airplane. And along with that free roadmap, you also get the financial model. So I'll put that down in the description. Mistake number 4 is overlooking red flags in an airplane listing. Once you find an airplane that you're interested in and you think you might actually go try to buy it, it is really, really easy to just let emotions completely carry you away and start to read through the listing with an overly optimistic lens. In other words, you're just hoping you don't find anything wrong with it. You're just like, oh, this airplane's awesome, awesome. Don't let me find anything wrong. Don't let me find anything wrong because I can see all of my dreams coming true. Like, this is the plane that I'm going to take my family on vacation in and stuff like that. So it's really easy to get carried away. And there's part of you that just hopes there's nothing wrong with it. So you're not, you start to give them the benefit of the doubt in the way that they describe things. But really, you need to have the complete opposite view and say, all right, this is important to me. I think this could be the airplane, but I'm going to attempt to find everything wrong with it that I possibly can, just to make sure that I'm not just relying on emotion in this purchase process. And while the pre-buy inspection will definitely help with this, even when you're just looking at the listing, there are some red flags you can spot if you're really looking for them. Things like the airplane was owned by a flight school. It probably got beat up pretty good, so don't overlook that line. Or the engine has 300 hours on it, but the last overhaul was like 20 years ago. So if you do the math, that airplane was flown for like 15 hours a year, which is not good. Flying that seldomly can hurt the engine and it can wear more quickly when things aren't properly lubricated and exercised. Or if the airplane was near the ocean in humid climates, corrosion could definitely be an issue. It's not a deal breaker, but that would be something to be aware of. And then damage history and lost logbooks can definitely be a red flag too. Now, again, those aren't automatically a deal breaker, but especially if the logbooks are incomplete, to me, that's like a bit of a black hole as to what did or didn't happen to the airplane during that time. So definitely try to wear your Sherlock Holmes hat. Don't let emotions take over where you overlook things that you shouldn't. Mistake number 3 is not studying comps. So here's an analogy. When you buy a house, your agent will give you a list of comparables or comps. It's basically a list of other houses sold nearby that had a similar square footage, maybe number of bedrooms and bathrooms, etc. It's basically your best read on what the market value of the home should be, of course adjusted for maybe other updates they've done to the house. So yeah, this one was similar square footage, but they did a lot of updates, or it has a pool, so it was worth more than this one, or the opposite could be the case. It's basically just trying to take the list of comparables in the area and understand what you're buying. Is this the correct market value for it? And really, airplanes are no different. If you already know what kind of airplane you're looking for and you're looking at online listings, please listen to this, the best thing you can do with that research time is to document it. Now, it doesn't have to be complicated, but just create a spreadsheet, or you can even do it on paper, it doesn't matter. But start tracking the listings that you're looking at along with the price, year, total time, engine time, and any other notable upgrades that might influence the price, like updated avionics, engine, paint, interior, that sort of thing. Then after you've looked through a few dozen listings and you've documented that research, you'll have a much better trained eye for spotting a fair deal versus listings that are just completely delusional. Real quick, if this has been helpful to you so far, I wanted to let you know that I just launched an Insiders newsletter where once a week I only send this to my email list. I'll send out an important aviation lesson that I have learned over the years, as well as links to my latest content so you won't miss out, and then any other interesting links that I have found recently. And I'm also working on something really big that I can't announce yet, but I'm gonna be sharing more information, some of the behind the scenes of this big project I'm working on with that Insiders list. So you can sign up over at airplaneacademy.com/insiders. And I'll also drop a link down in the description. All right, now back to airplane buying mistakes. The number 2 mistake is having the aircraft's mechanic do the pre-buy inspection for you. You really want a neutral third party to do that inspection since they don't have any skin in the game. And additionally, don't let the seller say, well, you know, it just came out of annual 2 weeks ago. We'll kind of use that as the inspection. I'll give you the report, show you everything they found and what we fixed, and that'll work, right? No, you still want to have an independent inspection of the airplane. Although it's great if it just came out of annual. Sometimes you'll see in the listings, oh, fresh annual as of X. And it's kind of nice because that's that much longer that you have until you have to spend the money on the next annual. So it's nice, but don't let it substitute an actual inspection. And I really believe the number 1 mistake people make when buying an airplane is that they don't buy an airplane that fits 80% of their mission. This mistake alone can cost you a lot of money, and it really doesn't have to be this way. I really suggest that you identify your 6-point mission, which is something I came up with that helps you understand the mission that the airplane needs to accomplish, so that way you don't overspend on something that you really don't need. So in the video on the screen, I'm gonna tell you all about this 6-point mission and how you can apply it to your situation. So I will see you there.